I think that life is too vast, too mysterious, too complex to reduce it to some kind of purpose. So what I have to say is that there are many purposes interwoven into the purpose, and only then can you start to grasp or grok, even speak about purpose of life. So one way you could kind of break that down to say is that different people have different purposes in this incarnational process. But here's the basics from my standpoint. Before we come into this reality, we exist in spirit. Let's just say we exist in spirit, which is, let's call it a higher frequency. It's not as dense as this frequency, it's a much higher range of frequency. And in that frequency, at least from the highest portion or close to the highest portion, if there's such a thing as a highest portion, we know that we're one with God. We live in a reality of perfect immensity of love, perfection, oneness. Now, from that perspective, what we now consider to be the normal reality is that utter abstraction. Is completely abstract to that perspective. So from that perspective, we come down into this frequency, enter this frequency, and adjust over a period of time and learn to acclimate or learn to function here. Why would we go from that perfect spirit into this? So we could say, in a way, we can talk about spirit or purpose from there. So in that reality of perfect spirit, we begin, at least we're registering that we're conscious. And we might not be conscious that we're conscious, but we are conscious. We have awareness, you could say. And at some stage, and I don't know when this begins to unfold for us, but there's a realization that this is the great blessing, the fantastic blessing that we have awareness, or you could say we are awareness, consciousness. I make a little distinction between awareness and consciousness, but I won't go into that here. So in the immensity of that recognition that we have this consciousness, you could say that's granted to us by God, our original source. And then with that comes a tsunami of ecstatic bliss that, should you touch that while you're in this human body, it could blow a lot of circuits. But we do have the capacity to significantly touch it without blowing the circuits. And along with that, there's just immense gratitude for that gift, that blessing of being conscious. And with that comes, you could say, the seed of a desire to say thank you to our source, to show gratitude for this, the immensity of the blessing of being aware. But we're one with spirit, we're one with everything, everyone. We're one with all presence. So how do you say thank you to yourself? So we manifest, we come into this reality in order to participate in what is called creating. And in that participation is the opportunity to demonstrate our gratitude through through whatever, really through everything we do, say, think, believe. Only we will tend to go to more benevolent, I believe anyhow, more benevolent forms of the expression of that gratitude through service to the collective, through service to the creation. And that as we are more fully oriented to that phase of service, we begin to participate in the creation of creation, in the creating process. Some of you have seen my little film about the end of creations. Let's say it this way: in some, I think biblical story says God created the earth in 7 days. Well, what if God is only on the afternoon of day 5 or day 6, and creation is still underway? He hasn't rolled out yet, and our job is to participate in this great, magnificent unfolding of what we think of as creation. So we are, you could say, we are made of nothing other than the creative force or power or mystery that we sometimes call God. That's what we are. We're made of that. There's nothing else to make things out of other than the creative force, the creative presence, which I will frequently designate as energy and consciousness. And so in serving creation, in serving whatever way is most optimal for us, we begin to participate in the unfolding of creation. And again, there's a great bliss in that. And I think this is commonly exercised in all of the living forms. Humans have and are in the process of kind of leaping to a higher level of participating. And I don't think we've quite settled into the new layer yet, and that's something else I want to talk about later. In terms of the individual, some people will say, well, what is my gift? What am I here to do? What is my highest calling? And my orientation is get yourself more into the phase of where being of service is kind of what your heart beats for. The more you align with that sense of placing yourself in service, the more your gift will shine forth, the more your gift will be teased out of the true nature of yourself. So I believe, I think of it this way. You want to call it a belief, that's fine. When I say believe or think of, I'm only saying this is the highest thought I've attained so far. I'm not interested in so much in what I believe, but every belief or every idea I have is the highest thought I can kind of sustain my current level of evolution, the current stage of development. So the movement then into the movement orientation into more of a pure and total commitment to being in service will then call forth our greatest gift. There's I think a verse in the Bible, I remember these things and I'm not always sure where they come from. I think it says something like this: for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. To me, that's stating poetically exactly what I'm talking about. Who is God? God is creative source. Who is God's only begotten son? Every living thing is God's only begotten son. God doesn't live and dwell in the world. Well, in some sense, God does, but in the purest sense, God or the source energy doesn't really, he or she is not about individuation, not yet. That comes in our phase. So from that perspective, everything is God's son, every man, woman, child, to me, even insects, and well, I don't know about even insects, maybe they're more beloved sons than we are. I can't say that, but that kind of, to translate that in a crude way, when we incarnate, God bestows upon us or with us a gift to the world. So God so loved the world with his only begotten son, or the souls that are coming in. God sends a gift to God's creation. as a creative input into the creation. So we bear that knowingly or unknowingly. And it does shine forth, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously, whether we're doing it at 1% or 100%. So the more we orient to pure service, which is not so immediate, it takes some time, I think, to come to that stage, to bring yourself into closer and closer and closer attunement to pure source energy so that it comes through you innocently and hopefully effortlessly. I can't guarantee that.